The Galactic Exchange Program. The crystalline spires of Zephyr Academy gleamed in the light of three suns, their iridescent surfaces refracting a dazzling array of colors across the campus grounds. Nestled in the heart of the Andromeda Galaxy, the prestigious intergalactic university stood as a beacon of knowledge and cultural exchange for species across the known universe. On this particular day, a sense of anticipation hung in the air like a tangible force. The Academy was set to welcome its first human exchange student from the distant planet Earth, a world still considered primitive by many in the galactic community. As the sleek transport ship descended through the Academy's atmospheric shield, curious eyes from a myriad of alien species turned to watch its arrival. Laura Chen stepped off the ship, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The 19-year-old Earth native clutched her datapad tightly, her knuckles white as she took in the breathtaking alien landscape before her. Towering tree-like structures with bioluminescent leaves swayed gently in the breeze, while floating platforms carried students of all shapes and sizes between buildings that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Welcome to Zephyr Academy, Laura Chen of Earth," a melodious voice chimed. Lara turned to see a being that resembled a cross between a jellyfish and a hologram floating beside her. "I am Zira, your assigned orientation guide. Please follow me to your living quarters." As Lara trailed behind Zira, she couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the sheer diversity of life forms around her. Creatures with multiple limbs, eyes, or no discernible features at all moved about their day, some acknowledging her presence with curious glances or appendage waves. "Your living space has been customized to suit your physiological needs," Zara explained as they entered a dome-shaped building. "However, if you require any adjustments, please do not hesitate to inform the adaptive A." Laura's room was a marvel of alien technology. The walls shimmered with a soft, calming light, and the furniture seemed to mold itself to her body as she tentatively sat on what she assumed was a bed. A holographic interface sprang to life, displaying her class schedule and a map of the campus. "Your first class begins in precisely 2.7 rotations, Zira informed her. "I suggest you use this time to familiarize yourself with the Academy's layout and basic protocols." As the door closed behind Zira, Lara let out a long breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The reality of her situation began to sink in. She was light years away from home, the sole representative of humanity in a sea of alien life. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders like a physical presence. The next morning, or what passed for morning on this strange world, Lyra made her way to her first class, comparative xenobiology. As she entered the lecture hall, she felt the weight of 100 alien gazes upon her. Some looked curious, others wary, and a few seemed downright hostile. Professor Xandor, a being that resembled a sentient cloud of gas contained within a translucent exoskeleton, began the lecture. "Today, we have a unique opportunity to study a species that has only recently joined the galactic community. Lara Chen, our exchange student from Earth, has graciously agreed to be the subject of our first lesson." Lara's cheeks burned as she stood up, feeling like a specimen under a microscope. Professor Xandor's voice took on a clinical tone as he continued. "Humans are classified as endoskeletal bipeds with a carbon-based biology. Their planet Earth is considered a death world due to its high gravity, extreme temperature variations, and aggressive fauna." Murmurs rippled through the class. Laura could hear whispers of "death world" and "dangerous" being passed around. She squared her shoulders, determined to change their perceptions. Perhaps Lara could demonstrate some of her species' physical capabilities. Professor Xandor suggested. Swallowing her nervousness, Lara stepped forward. "Well, humans are known for their endurance and adaptability," she began. "We can run long distances, climb, swim, and survive in a wide range of environments." To illustrate her point, Lara performed a series of basic exercises, push-ups, squats, and a short sprint across the room. To her surprise, the alien students watched in fascination, some even applauding her display. As the class progressed, Lyra found herself fielding questions about Earth and human culture. She spoke of art, music, and literature, of humanity's dreams of exploring the stars. Slowly, she could see the wariness in her classmates' eyes begin to fade, replaced by genuine interest. During the lunch break, Lyra sat alone in the Academy's vast dining hall, marveling at the array of alien cuisines laid out before her. A shadow fell across her table, and she looked up to see a towering, four-armed being with iridescent scales. "Mind if I join you?" the alien asked, its voice a deep rumble. "I'm Zexalor, from the aquatic world of Nautilus Prime." Lyra smiled, grateful for the company. "Please sit down. I'm Lyra, from Earth." As they ate, Zexalor peppered Lyra with questions about her home planet. In turn, Lyra learned about life beneath the vast oceans of Nautilus Prime. The conversation attracted others, and soon Lyra found herself at the center of a small group of curious alien students. The afternoon brought a practical training exercise in the Academy's state-of-the-art simulation chamber. Students were paired off to complete a series of challenges designed to test their problem-solving skills and physical abilities. Lyra was partnered with Kix, a small furry being with large, expressive eyes and retractable claws. As they entered the simulation, the world around them shimmered and transformed into a dense alien jungle. "Your objective," came the disembodied voice of the instructor, "is to reach the extraction point while overcoming any obstacles in your path. You have 1 hour." Lyra and Kix set off, pushing through thick vegetation and crossing treacherous ravines. They worked well together, with Kix's agility complementing Lyra's strength and endurance. As they neared the extraction point, however, disaster struck. A massive predatory creature burst from the underbrush, its maw filled with razor-sharp teeth. Kix froze in terror, but Lyra's instincts kicked in. Without hesitation, she grabbed her partner and sprinted towards a nearby cliff face. "Climb," Lyra shouted, boosting Kix up onto a ledge. The creature's hot breath was on her heels as she scrambled up the rock face, her fingers finding purchase where there seemed to be none. Just as the beast's jaws were about to close around her leg, Lyra reached the safety of the ledge. The creature rolled in frustration, unable to follow. Panting heavily, Lyra turned to Kix, who stared at her with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "That was incredible," Kix chittered, his fur still standing on end. "How did you react so quickly?" Lyra shrugged, her heart still racing. "On Earth we have a saying, better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one, than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. I guess all those rock climbing lessons back home paid off." As the simulation faded away, Lyra and Kix found themselves surrounded by their classmates and instructors, all buzzing with excitement. Word of Lyra's quick thinking and bravery spread quickly through the Academy. That evening, as Lyra sat in her room reflecting on the day's events, she realized that she had taken the first steps towards bridging the gap between humanity and the galactic community. There would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to overcome, and much to learn. But for the first time since arriving at HFY Academy, Lyra felt a sense of belonging. A soft chime from her datapad drew her attention. It was a message from Zexalor, inviting her to join a study group with some of their classmates. Smiling to herself, Lyra sent a quick reply accepting the invitation. As she prepared to meet her new friends, she couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement for what the future held. The first day at HFY Academy had been a whirlwind of new experiences, but Lyra knew this was just the beginning. With determination in her heart and an open mind, she was ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store for her. As a representative of humanity, she was determined to show the galactic community the true strength, resilience, and compassion of her species. The awakening of hidden strengths. The initial excitement of Lyra's arrival at HFY Academy had begun to wane, replaced by a growing undercurrent of tension. 2 standard galactic weeks had passed since the incident in the simulation chamber, and whispers followed Lyra through the crystalline hallways of the Academy. "Did you hear? The human nearly got her partner killed in the sim. One student hissed to another as Lyra passed by. "I heard they had to recalibrate the entire system because of her unpredictable behavior," another chimed in. Lyra outlined a plan that utilized each team member's unique strengths. The crystalline being could interface directly with the simulation's energy matrices. The sound wave creature could detect subtle harmonics in the star's core that others might miss. Zix's mathematical prowess could optimize their solutions, while Lyra's adaptability and creative thinking could help them navigate unexpected complications. As they put the plan into action, something remarkable happened. The team began to work in perfect harmony, each member's abilities complementing the others. Lyra's human intuition, combined with the logical precision of her teammates, allowed them to see patterns and solutions that no single species could have devised alone. Hours ticked by as they worked tirelessly to stabilize the virtual star system. Just as it seemed they had succeeded, alarms blared. A massive solar flare, far beyond the parameters of the original simulation, threatened to destroy everything they had worked for. In that moment of crisis, Lyra felt a familiar clarity descend upon her, the same feeling she had experienced during the containment breach at the Academy. Time seemed to slow as her mind raced through possibilities. "Six," she called out. "If we reverse the polarity of the containment field and channel the flare's energy through the system's Lagrange points, we might be able to create a self-sustaining shield." The Arcturian's eyes widened. "The calculations, it's possible, but the timing would need to be perfect." "Then let's be perfect," Lyra said, her voice filled with a confidence that inspired her teammates. What followed was a symphony of cooperation. Zix calculated the precise moments for energy transfer, the crystalline being channeled vast amounts of power, the sound wave creature harmony, Zed the system's vibrations, and Lyra coordinated it all, her human adaptability allowing her to adjust their strategy on the fly as new complications arose. With a blinding flash and a surge of energy that made the simulation chamber shudder, they succeeded. The virtual star system stabilized, its newly formed energy shield glowing with a soft, sustainable light. As the simulation faded away, Lyra and her teammates found themselves surrounded by thunderous applause. Delegates from across the galaxy cheered, many rising from their seats in standing ovations. The judges, their faces or equivalent sensory organs, beaming with excitement, quickly huddled to confer. The being of pure energy that had opened the summit reappeared at the center of the hall. "In all my centuries of overseeing this event," it announced, its voice filled with awe, "I have never seen such a display of cooperation and innovation. The team led by Lyra Chen of Earth has not only won this challenge, but has set a new standard for what can be achieved when diverse species work together in harmony." As Lyra stood there, overwhelmed by the reaction, she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Zix, the Arcturian leader who had dismissed her at the start. "I was wrong about you, Lyra Chen," they said, their obsidian features softening. "Your species has much to teach us all." In the days that followed, as the summit drew to a close, Lyra found herself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Delegates from across the galaxy sought her out, eager to learn more about Earth and humanity. She shared stories of human history, culture, and aspirations, building bridges of understanding with each conversation. During the closing ceremony, Lyra was asked to give a speech. As she stood before the assembled representatives of the galactic community, she felt the weight of the moment, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. "When I first arrived at HFY Academy," she began, her voice clear and strong, "I was afraid that I wouldn't fit in, that humanity was too different, too primitive to find a place among the stars. But what I've learned, both at the Academy and here at this summit, is that our differences are not obstacles to be overcome, but strengths to be celebrated." She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces, seeing not strangers now, but friends and colleagues. "Humanity is young in the galactic community, but we bring with us a unique perspective. We come from a world that has challenged us at every turn, forcing us to adapt, to innovate, and to dream. We've made mistakes along the way, but we've also achieved wonders. As we take our place among the stars, Lyra continued, her voice filled with passion, we don't come to conquer or to impose our will. We come to learn, to share, and to work alongside all of you in building a brighter future for every species in the galaxy. The creature's single baleful eye swept the room before fixing on Lyra and the young students. With terrifying speed, it surged towards them, tentacles lashing out to ensnare its prey. Time seemed to slow for Lyra. In that moment of crisis, something deep within her awakened, a primal instinct honed by millennia of human evolution on a world that had constantly tried to kill her ancestors. With strength she didn't know she possessed, Lyra scooped up two of the smaller students in her arms. "Run," she shouted to the others, her voice carrying an authority that broke through their paralysis. As they fled, Lyra's mind raced, analyzing their surroundings with newfound clarity. She spotted a narrow passageway, too small for the creature to follow, and directed the group towards it. "Zexalor," she called out, seeing her friend still hesitating near the exit. "I need you to guard the rear. Use your strength to slow it down if it gets too close." To her surprise, Zexalor nodded, his earlier fear replaced by determination. He positioned himself behind the group, his four powerful arms ready to fend off any attacking tentacles. As they navigated the twisting corridors of the academy, Lyra found herself tapping into knowledge she didn't even realize she had, remembering snippets of survival skills, emergency protocols, and crisis management techniques she had learned back on Earth. They encountered other groups of panicked students and faculty along the way. Lyra's calm demeanor and clear instructions quickly established her as a leader in the chaos. She organized the scattered groups into a more manageable evacuation line, assigning roles based on each species' strengths. "Kix," she called out, spotting her former simulation partner. "I need your agility. Scout ahead and find us the safest route to the nearest emergency shelter." Kix, his earlier avoidance forgotten in the face of crisis, nodded and scampered off, using his retractable claws to climb walls and ceilings for a better vantage point. As they neared the shelter, a violent tremor shook the building. The creature had broken through to their level, its roars echoing through the halls. Lyra knew they wouldn't all make it if they simply ran. "Zexalor, Vrax," she called out, her mind formulating a plan. "We need to buy time for the others. Are you with me?" The two largest students in the group moved to her side without hesitation. Vrax, who had mocked her earlier, now looked at her with a mixture of respect and anticipation. "What's the plan, human?" he growled. Lyra quickly outlined her strategy, drawing on her knowledge of physics and the alien architecture around them. Working together, they began to construct a makeshift barricade, using their combined strength to move heavy equipment and debris to block the corridor. As the last of the students made it to safety, Lyra, Zexalor, and Vrax faced the oncoming threat. The creature burst into view, its massive bulk filling the hallway. "Now," Lyra shouted. Vrax and Zexalor strained against a large pillar they had partially dislodged. With a thunderous crack, it toppled, bringing down a section of the ceiling on top of the creature. The beast roared in pain and fury, momentarily trapped beneath the rubble. "Run," Lyra ordered, and the three of them sprinted towards the shelter. They dove through the closing glass doors just as the creature broke free, its tentacles lashing at the unyielding metal mere seconds after it sealed shut. In the tense quiet of the emergency shelter, Lyra found herself surrounded by the very classmates who had been avoiding her just hours before. Now, they looked at her with awe and gratitude. Professor Xandor's gaseous form swirled with what Lyra recognized as intense emotion. "Lyra Chen," he intoned, his voice resonating through the shelter, "you have demonstrated leadership, quick thinking, and courage beyond measure. You have saved many lives today." As the reality of what had just transpired began to sink in, Lyra felt a surge of emotions, relief, exhaustion, and a newfound confidence. She had tapped into something uniquely human, a strength born from millions of years of facing adversity on a challenging world. Zexalor placed one of his 4 hands on Lyra's shoulder. I think we all misjudged you, Lyra. You've shown us what humans are truly capable of. Vrax, his scales still dusty from their encounter, nodded in agreement. I was wrong about you, human. Your species may be small, but you have the heart of a true warrior. As the adrenaline of the crisis faded, Lyra realized that something had fundamentally changed. She had not only proven herself, but had also forged bonds of trust and respect with her alien classmates. In facing this challenge together, they had begun to see beyond their differences and recognize their shared strengths. Kix, the small furry being who had acted as their scout, scampered up to Lyra. The Intergalactic Youth Summit is in just a few rotations, he chittered excitedly. After what you've done today, you must represent Zephyr Academy. A chorus of agreement rose from the gathered students. Lyra felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a sense of belonging she had feared she might never find so far from home. As the emergency systems announced that the creature had been recaptured and the danger had passed, Lyra knew that her journey at Zephyr Academy was far from over. She had discovered strengths she never knew she possessed, and in doing so, had opened the eyes of her alien peers to the true potential of humanity. With the Intergalactic Youth Summit on the horizon, Lyra felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She was no longer just a curiosity from a distant death world. She was a leader, a friend, and a symbol of what could be achieved when different species came together in the face of adversity. As the shelter doors opened and they stepped out into the aftermath of the crisis, Lyra knew that her real mission, to bridge the gap between humanity and the wider galactic community, was only just beginning. Triumph at the Intergalactic Youth Summit. The sleek interstellar vessel, emblazoned with the shimmering emblem of Zephyr Academy, cut through the star-studded void of space. Inside, Lara Chen sat among a diverse group of alien students, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were en route to Nexus Prime, a neutral planet at the heart of the galactic community, where the Intergalactic Youth Summit was to be held. Nervous, Lyra? Zexalor asked, his 4 arms busy adjusting the environmental controls of his suit. Lyra managed a smile. A little. I never imagined I'd be representing not just Zephyr Academy, but humanity as a whole. Kix, curled up in a specially designed seat, chittered encouragingly. After how you handled the containment breach, there's no one better suited for this. As the ship began its descent towards Nexus Prime, Lyra reflected on the whirlwind of events that had led to this moment. In the days following the crisis at the Academy, she had been thrust into intensive preparation for the summit. Her newfound alien friends had rallied around her, each contributing their unique knowledge and perspectives to help her prepare. The ship touched down on a landing pad that seemed to be made of living crystal, pulsating with soft, welcoming light. As Lyra and her fellow delegates disembarked, they were greeted by a dazzling array of alien species from across the galaxy, all gathered for this momentous event. A holographic guide materialized before them, its form shifting continuously to represent different species. Welcome, esteemed delegates, to the 500th Intergalactic Youth Summit. Please proceed to the Grand Convocation Hall for the opening ceremony. As they made their way through the sprawling complex, Lara couldn't help but marvel at the architectural wonders around her. Structures of impossible geometry housed delegates from gravity-defying worlds, while atmospheric bubbles contained the perfect conditions for species from gas giants and water worlds alike. The Grand Convocation Hall was a sight to behold, a vast, spherical chamber that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. As Lara took her seat among the Zephyr Academy delegation, she felt the weight of countless alien gazes upon her. Whispers rippled through the assembled crowd. Word of the human who faced the containment breach had spread far and wide. A being of pure energy, its form barely contained within a shimmering force field, took center stage. Esteemed delegates, it began, its voice resonating in the minds of all present, we gather here to forge the future of our galactic community. Over the next 7 rotations, you will compete in challenges designed to test your intellect, adaptability, and capacity for cooperation. May the best delegates emerge victorious. The challenges began immediately, pushing Lyra and her fellow students to their limits. In the first task, they were tasked with solving a complex multidimensional puzzle that required understanding of advanced physics and spatial reasoning. Lyra's human perspective proved invaluable, as she noticed patterns that her alien counterparts had overlooked. "It's like a Rubik's Cube," she explained to her confused teammates, but in 11 dimensions instead of 3. Working together, with Lyra translating her intuitive understanding into terms her alien friends could grasp, they completed the puzzle in record time, earning high praise from the judges. As the days progressed, Lyra found herself facing challenges that tested not just her intellect, but her physical capabilities as well. In a zero-gravity obstacle course, she surprised everyone, including herself, with her agility and spatial awareness. "It's remarkable," one of the judges commented. Their tentacles waving in what Lyra had learned was a sign of excitement. "The human's ability to adapt to new environments is truly impressive." But not all challenges were so easily overcome. During a diplomatic simulation, Lyra struggled to navigate the complex social cues and cultural nuances of species she had never encountered before. She found herself inadvertently offending a delegation from a hive-mind species by addressing them as individuals. Frustrated and disheartened, Lyra retreated to a quiet corner of the summit complex during a break. She was surprised to find Vrax, the reptilian student who had once mocked her, approaching with an awkward gait. "You look like you could use some advice, human," Vrax rumbled. Lyra nodded, too tired to maintain her usual cheerful facade. "I feel like I'm out of my depth here. There's so much I don't understand about all these different cultures." Vrax's scales shifted in a pattern that Lyra recognized as thoughtful. "You're trying to understand everyone at once. That's admirable, but impossible. Instead, focus on what you do best. Adapt and learn quickly. Use your human curiosity to ask questions. Most species appreciate genuine interest in their culture." Lyra blinked in surprise at the insightful advice. "Thank you, Vrax. I never thought I'd be getting diplomatic tips from you." The reptilian's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. "We've all had to adapt since you arrived, Lyra. You've taught us more than you realize." Reinvigorated by this unexpected support, Lyra threw herself back into the challenges with renewed determination. She began to approach each task not as a test to be passed, but as an opportunity to learn and connect with her fellow delegates. In a challenge focused on resource management and sustainable development, Lyra drew upon humanity's long history of environmental mistakes and triumphs. She shared stories of Earth's ongoing struggle with climate change and the innovative solutions being developed. Her passion and genuine concern for the well-being of all species resonated deeply with the other delegates. As the summit entered its final days, tension mounted. The HFY Academy team, led by Lyra's unconventional but effective strategies, had risen to the top ranks. But they were neck and neck with a team from the Arcturian Collective, a group known for their coldly logical approach to problem-solving. The final challenge was announced. Teams would need to work together to stabilize a dangerously unstable star system, using a combination of advanced technology and creative problem-solving. The catch: each team would be randomly mixed with members from other delegations. Lyra found herself separated from her HFY Academy friends, instead paired with a diverse group that included a crystalline being from a silicon-based world, a creature that existed primarily as sound waves, and to her dismay, the leader of the Arcturian team, a tall, aloof being with skin like polished obsidian. As they began to tackle the challenge, conflicts immediately arose. The Arcturian leader, Zix, dismissed Lyra's suggestions outright, focusing solely on mathematical probabilities. The sound wave being, unable to manipulate physical controls, felt left out of the process entirely. Lyra took a deep breath, remembering Vrax's advice. She turned to Zix, her voice calm but firm. I know you don't think much of human methods, but we have a saying on Earth: two heads are better than one. In this case, we have 5 very different minds. Why don't we try combining our approaches? To her surprise, Zix paused, their obsidian features unreadable. Explain your reasoning, human. Lyra kept her head high, but the weight of isolation pressed down on her shoulders. Even Kix, whom she had saved during the simulation, seemed to be avoiding her. The camaraderie she had felt on that first day felt like a distant memory. As she entered Professor Xandor's xenobiology class, the room fell into an uneasy silence. Lyra took her usual seat, acutely aware of the empty spaces around her. The professor's gaseous form swirled with what might have been concern as he began the day's lesson. Today, we will be discussing the concept of evolutionary adaptations in extreme environments, Xandor announced. Lyra, perhaps you could share some insights about how humans have adapted to the harsh conditions of Earth. Lyra stood, her voice steady despite her nerves. Well, humans have developed a remarkable ability to thermoregulate, allowing us to survive in a wide range of temperatures. We've also evolved complex problem-solving skills and tool use to overcome environmental challenges. A derisive snort came from the back of the room. Vrax, a hulking reptilian student from a high-gravity world, spoke up. Problem-solving skills. Is that what you call nearly getting your partner eaten in a simple training exercise? The class erupted into murmurs and nervous laughter. Lyra felt her face flush with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Before she could respond, Professor Xandor intervened. That's quite enough, Vrax. Lyra's actions in the simulation, while unorthodox, demonstrated quick thinking and adaptability, traits that have allowed humans to survive on their challenging homeworld. As the class continued, Lyra struggled to focus. The incident in the simulation chamber had been meant to showcase her abilities, but instead, it had only served to alienate her further from her peers. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was failing not just herself, but all of humanity. Later that day, Lyra found herself in the Academy's vast library, surrounded by holographic displays and data crystals containing knowledge from across the galaxy. She had retreated here, seeking solace in study, when a familiar voice broke through her concentration. Mind if I join you? It was Zexalor, the 4-armed student from Nautilus Prime. Lyra managed a small smile. Of course not. It's good to see a friendly face. Zexalor settled his large frame into a seat designed for a much smaller species. I couldn't help but notice you've been keeping to yourself lately. Is everything all right? Lyra sighed, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I feel like I'm letting everyone down. I came here to represent Earth, to show the galaxy what humans are capable of. But all I've done is cause trouble and make people uncomfortable. Zexalor's multifaceted eyes blinked in what Lyra had come to recognize as surprise. Is that really how you see it? Lyra, you've made more of an impact in 2 weeks than most exchange students do in a full term. You've challenged our preconceptions and shown us a resilience we've rarely seen. Before Lyra could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the academy. Red lights pulsed along the walls, and a computerized voice echoed through the library. Warning: containment breach in laboratory complex beta. All students and non-essential personnel, please evacuate to designated safe zones immediately. Panic erupted as students of all species rushed towards the exits. Lyra and Zexalor found themselves swept up in the tide of bodies. As they neared the library's main doors, a deafening roar shook the building, followed by the sound of shattering crystal. Through the chaos, Lyra spotted a group of younger students huddled in a corner, too terrified to move. Without hesitation, she broke away from the crowd, pushing against the flow to reach them. Lyra, what are you doing? Zexalor called out, his voice tinged with fear. I can't leave them behind, Lyra shouted back, her heart pounding as she reached the group. Come on, she urged the young aliens. We need to get you out of here. As Lyra led the students towards safety, a massive shape burst through the library's far wall. It was a creature of nightmare, a writhing mass of tentacles and pulsating flesh, easily the size of a small shuttle. Fragments of its shattered containment pod still clung to its gelatinous body. The applause that followed was deafening, a cacophony of sounds from countless alien species united in their appreciation. As Lyra stepped down from the podium, she was greeted by her friends from HFY Academy, Zexalor, Kix, Vrax, and others, all beaming with pride. Professor Xandor's gaseous form swirled with intense colors as he approached. "Lyra Chen," he intoned, "you came to us as a student, but you have become a teacher to us all. Your journey is just beginning, but already you have changed the course of galactic history." As the Intergalactic Youth Summit came to a close, Lyra knew that she was returning to HFY Academy not just as a student, but as an ambassador. She had opened the eyes of the galactic community to the potential of humanity, and in doing so, had paved the way for greater cooperation and understanding between Earth and the stars. The challenges ahead were many, but as Lyra looked out at the glittering expanse of the galaxy from the viewport of their returning ship, she felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future. Humanity had taken its first true steps into the cosmic community, and with friends and allies from across the stars, the possibilities were as endless as the universe itself. As HFY Academy came into view, its crystalline spires gleaming in the light of 3 suns, Lyra Chen, student, leader, and now ambassador, smiled. Her journey and humanity's journey among the stars was only just beginning.